Hi, I'm Sue Murr, and I'm a member of Lagogo Baptist Church, and I have a passion for people with disabilities or special needs. Um, as a career, I've worked as a physiotherapist, but the Lord has also given me a great passion to see people with special needs well integrated into their churches. And that comes from a belief that God is sovereign and He has created all people in His image equally. And He is also, in His sovereignty, He has also allowed there to be suffering and disability. We need, as a believer, we understand, as believers, we understand that there is no trial, no illness, no injury, no disability that is beyond God's sovereignty, and that He has allowed to be in the life of a person for reasons known only to Him. In Uganda, there are probably between 10 and 13% of the population of people that have disabilities or living with a disability, and that equates to more than 5 million people. And sadly, the majority of people with disabilities are not involved in a church, they're not included in a church, and even more sadly, they have no access to the gospel. So although a physical disability or an intellectual disability is very challenging and very sad, there's a far greater need that each person with a disability has, and that is their sin. And we need to be including people and reaching out to people with the gospel because they have the same need for Jesus Christ as we all do, and so do their caregivers. In a society, there are norms that are created, and they tend to be more based on culture than necessarily biblically based. And that's very true for the world of disability too. And some of the societal or cultural norms are actually misconceptions related to disability, and that is that Satan has allowed this and God wasn't strong enough or able enough to conquer it, that a disability or a special need in someone's life is based upon their sin or the sin of their forefathers, their parents, or that it's a curse, or that even it's demon possession. And those are all misconceptions. They're culturally based, and they contribute to why people with disabilities are often excluded from the church and from even hearing the gospel. Because the truth is, God has allowed all of us to have the abilities, the capabilities, and even the inabilities that we have. We are all created in the image of God, and we all need to know Him as our Savior. And if we would think of disability at all in terms of why it's present in the world, we know that from Genesis, when Adam and Eve sinned, sin came into the world, and since then, all of us are living under the curse of that. Life is not like it should be, like it was intended to be, and we would see disability as a part of that, but not specific to individuals. God's heart is that, yes, He loves all of us. We're all created in His image. He desires to have a relationship with each one of us on our own. He sent His Son to die and create access for that. And people with disabilities and special needs need that just like everyone does. Those of us working in the disability community do not believe that having a disability is a free pass to heaven, that the way to get to heaven for everyone is the same, and that's having a relationship with Jesus. When it comes to why someone has a disability, there are many verses in the Bible that talk about God's sovereignty. One comes from early on in Exodus 4, where God says, He's actually speaking to Moses when Moses is complaining that he's not eloquent enough to go to Pharaoh, and God says, who made man, or his mouth, or whether he's mute or deaf or blind or seeing? So we know right from the beginning that it is God who has created people to be the way they are, and we need to respect that. Also, another very common verse, and one that clarifies how God is involved in the role of people with disabilities is from John 9. The disciples are with Christ and they meet a man who is blind from birth, it says, and their question to Christ is, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? And Jesus doesn't even really acknowledge their question, but his answer is that neither of them did, but that it was done so that his works may be displayed in this man, in his blindness. He does actually go on and heal his blindness, but Jesus' position is my works and my glory can be displayed in the midst of his disability, which is so true for our brothers and sisters who have disabilities and special needs. Sadly, just because we know that, it's not an easy thing for us to then, as a church or even as believers, to reach out to people with disabilities, people who are unlike us, people who may not speak, not have language, their bodies may move in ways that make us feel uncomfortable. But that doesn't mean that's not our role within the church. We need to be doing that. A passage that is so helpful for understanding how we're the body and the body has strong parts and weaker parts is from 1 Corinthians 12. And there Paul is talking about, we can't say, well, everyone should be an eye or everyone should be a hand, or because you're not the same as me or you're a weaker part, I have no need for you. Sadly, many people with disabilities hear that message from the church, whether it's spoken directly to them or it's implied. The message they hear is, I have no need for you. And so what our passion is that we would be a body of believers that would come alongside people with disabilities and allow them to come alongside us. I have often said and think that a good start for a fellowship or a body of believers or a church is to realize there's people with disabilities in our midst and they need us. But the place we really want to get to is to say there's people with disabilities or differing abilities in our midst and we need them. Because really our body is incomplete without them. And we want to be a complete body. And so what that means for us at Lagogo Baptist is that we have people within our midst, people with different abilities, with weaknesses, with all different kinds of challenges, but that they would echo, just like everyone there, that they exist to know Christ and to make him known. And honestly, they'll make him known to other people in ways that many of us won't. Many of us that are able-bodied, we all have our own story, but people with special needs have a unique story and may reach people in the population that the rest of us never would. So what I would love to see and what I dream, and there's many others, this is certainly not a vision that I have alone, from our leaders to other people working with people with disabilities in our community. We would love for our church, for Lagogo Baptist, to be known as a place that is filled with people with special needs as part of the body, and that we are recognizing their unique contribution and their unique role in the body.